What is up, YouTube? Live via satellite here, and today we are talking Kingdom. In particular, guys, today we're going to be discussing how the new 6th grade generals are going to wind up being the Wayfire Dragons 2.0. But before we get into that, guys, if you're new here, click the subscribe button because we talk a lot about Kingdom. And if you like the video, it really helps out if you like the video. Alright guys, so chapter 672 was an amazing chapter called Golden Wings, and whew, that one was tough, man. That one was tough. I was sweating it out, man. I'm not gonna lie to you. I was sweating it out. I was tossing and turning all week. I was waking up at 3 in the morning at random. And I would wonder, could Har betray me and do the unthinkable and make Heki a general? I would look back on chapter 671 and look at that epic picture of all the generals standing there before Ace, and I said, how in the world could Heki stand next to such greatness? And I said, it just wouldn't look right. It doesn't fit. And I'll tell you what, Har knows his fan base, and Har has a sense of humor like no other. Because when the chapter started out and it was like Rokuomi and Heki, I was thinking, oh my gosh, is it between these two? And then I started thinking, how could I forget to leave Rokuomi out of my last video? But he just never came to mind because I'm thinking he's undertow, so, you know, I wouldn't have even thought of him as being a 6th grade general, right? So then as the suspense is building and I'm like, oh, no, it's gonna be Heki, please no. And I mean, Heki's face was intense, like, yeah, that's right. You didn't think I could do it, did you? But here I am. And look, man, I'm not gonna lie, you can't blame me for being a little shook because after the Rozo thing, anything's pretty much possible, right? And then when Ace said that the seat would be vacant, I'm not gonna lie to you guys, I had like a mini celebration, like a little touchdown dance going on. But then it got even better because not only did we see Rokuomi yawning, but we see Heki in his best role. He's not here to be epic, he's here to be comedic relief. And that he was, as his whole serious attitude was just checking his surroundings before he took a leak. Way to go, Heki, you did it.
Is this your game? Huh?
But getting into the more important things in this chapter, we learn a lot about the 6th grade general system and how it works. Especially thanks to Kanki, who seemed to have a lot to say this chapter. But just boiling everything down in a nutshell, it seems like 6 is the perfect number, because anything less than 6 and they wouldn't be able to watch each other's backs and claim territory without pause. But on the other hand, if they went with a number greater than 6, then they would be spreading themselves thin, and it would lower the quality of the generals in the lower ranks. Which makes sense to me, because then you'd have guys like Rokuomi and Akko becoming a part of that system, which in a sense would weaken the armies that they came from, right? So I love the breakdown of everything, but boy oh boy did we get some fireworks in this ceremony. So I guess let's start out with Kanki, who was speaking out of turn so much that Shobukan had to literally tell him to know his place. But we see that he finally for the first time realizes that everything Shin told him about Ace trying to conquer all of China was actually true. And even though we get Kanki's initial thoughts that things are starting to get interesting, we still have to remember that Kanki called Shin one of the most twisted bastards he's ever met in his life after first hearing this. And Kanki to me really didn't seem too on board, even calling it lunacy at one point. So I'm thinking this is all going to play a role in the future, but then we get into the most important part of the chapter. After everything's pretty much said and done, Shobukan jumps in and lays out 2 oddly specific rules. Firstly saying that just because you're free to wage war doesn't mean that you can do whatever you want. Stating that massacring or committing any atrocities against civilians is absolutely forbidden, which Kanki obviously saw was aimed at him. And the second rule being that obviously revolt is not allowed either, which Kanki again points out is probably aimed at Osen. And man, did you see that death stare that Osen gives Sei? But then things get even more interesting as Toe jumps in saying, worry not. If someone violates those rules, I will rally the generals and obliterate the offenders. Which is then co-signed by Yotanwa, but of course. Man, I cannot lie. After reading that, I was thinking to myself, wow, this is lining up to be the Wayfire Dragons 2.0. Think about it. What happened with the Wayfire Dragons? They wound up fighting amongst themselves. We had Earl Shi and his guys versus Tairoji and his guys, and Gokei pretty much remained neutral. And I feel like this is almost shaping up to be the same thing because we know Kanki is not going to abide by these rules, and Osen is definitely planning something. So if we take this for what it is, we could have Kanki and Osen versus Toe and Yotanwa. And I'm going to guess that Mobu remains neutral just like Gokei did, because in this chapter he didn't say anything at all. But unfortunately, this infighting may actually lead to the death of some of these great generals. And unfortunately, I'm kind of leaning toward Toe. But at the same time, even though I don't want to see anyone go, we do have to open up the seats for Ohan, Moten, and Shin, right? So some things are definitely going to have to change here. And at this point, it's almost kind of like, say, why would you even bring the system back if you have to make rules like this, right? Like, revolting should not be a rule. I mean, it's one of those things that should kind of go without saying. I mean, if you have to question whether someone's going to turn against you, then they probably shouldn't be in the 6th grade generals to begin with, right? And if you're trying to conquer all of China, then you definitely don't want someone massacring the citizens, because eventually they're going to be your citizens. So you definitely want to treat them with some sort of dignity. So the fact that these two things even need to be brought up is, to me, a clear signal that things are not going to go well with this system. And we already get to see the cracks begin in the show in chapter 673, where Karen even states, even though the system brings them freedom and more strength, if the reins aren't kept tight, it will all collapse from the inside. And also in chapter 673, as the great generals are arriving to face off against Sao, we start to see that even Shin and Kyokai have an uneasy feeling about this. And horror makes it even clearer when the narrator forewarns that even though the right to freely wage war quickly showed its strength, it would soon become apparent the double edge of the 6th grade general system. And to me, this was a huge bombshell because it just started. I wasn't thinking it was going to end that quickly. But I don't know, man. It looks like something in the next chapter is definitely going to be happening, right? And I'm curious to see who's going to screw up first. Is it going to be Kanki? Is it going to be Osen? Or are they both going to screw up? But no matter what happens, you know Toe and Yotanwa aren't having it. So we will have to wait and see in the next chapter what exactly goes on. But anyway, guys, that's about all I have for this video. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Do you guys think that the infighting amongst the 6th grade generals may lead to someone's death? Do you guys even agree with the idea that there may be infighting? And of course, the most important question of them all, how happy on a scale of 1 to 10 were you that Heki did not become one of the 6th grade generals? So that does it for today's video, guys. Please leave a like if you enjoyed the video and feel free to share, comment, and subscribe. Peace out.